Gotta check the levels. Gotta check the levels. Gotta check the levels. Gotta check the levels. Music might actually be louder than I want today. You know, just gotta adjust it. And of course, naturally, the music like stops, damn near stops, when it is time for me to check that thing. Also, can we all just be proud of me for my lighting today? I have a new lamp at my desk, and lighting exists now. The lighting looks significantly better than I feel like most of my videos typically, and I appreciate that. I respect that. I'm proud of myself. Like, we look great. Also, I'm generally not feeling great today, and so the fit consists of exclusively this jacket, this big ass jacket. But that's fine. We have more streams planned. We'll see how I'm feeling. There's gonna be at least one other stream this week. I kind of want to do two, but we'll see how I'm feeling. We'll see if I get two of them set. We'll see if I get one of them set up, let alone two. But I would say we are in a good position to begin our actual stream. Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Sukyum Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar. And this book, I have a lot to say here. First things first, really quick, if you like the little notes situation I have going on over here, I actually do have all of my notes for this book and a lot of my other book streams on my Patreon. Link is down below. I am also doing the pre-release premiere for my upcoming romance, Imani and Aaliyah's Fashion Bible, where you get basically like a director's commentary type of thing with each chapter every week. That's also Patreon, link down below. Back this book. I want to be very clear. I did enjoy this book. I did have a good time with this book. I did like this book. So I want to split this review into two parts, basically. I want part number one, which is the, like, let's talk about all the things that I love about the book. Let's talk about all the great things about the book. And then we'll skip over to part number two, which is one, like, fundamental issue I have with the book. So frankly, it's not even like things I love with the book versus like the thing I didn't love about the book. It is like general review of the book versus like a fundamental issue I had with the book that might actually, like, I've seen this happen in one other book and I didn't like this book and people don't like that author. And so I'm like wondering if it is a like writing issue, if it was a writing issue in this book, or if this is kind of a trend that I'm going to start seeing more of, and we hope not. But let's talk about general review things. So the book is called A Tale of Hijinks and Honeydews, for the record. And this is so funny. The word honeydew does not show up in the text once. And I think that's so funny because I did a review of another book. It was called The Artificial Generation. And that was the exact same thing, where the title had nothing to do with what the actual story was about. And I think that's so goofy. But I had the exact opposite situation where I dug that book. And I was originally going to give it like a 3 or a 4 star, but like it stuck with me. Like that story stuck with me for ages. And so I was like, you know what? What is a 5 star if not a book that sits with your soul for like 5 months later? So I give it a 5 stars in the end. This is kind of the opposite. I don't think I'm going to knock down the stars at all, but like I really, really enjoyed this book. I really, really loved this book as I was reading it. But since it takes basically no time for me, like, almost entirely forget this book. When I do my notes, as you see, like, I'm pulling quotes from the story and I'm rereading all of these quotes as I'm doing my notes, and I make notes on these quotes if I feel compelled to. And I was doing this yesterday. I finished this yesterday. And I remember, like, that there were points where I was like, oh my god, some of the like disability like comments being made were so great, but like otherwise it's all that's about all I really feel from it is like I remember that there were some cool disability comments in this book, but I don't like it doesn't stick with me. This book hasn't stuck with me much. As another side note, I for the life of me can't remember these fucking kids' names. They're not kids. They're like 17, 18. They're basically kids. But I can't remember their names. I keep forgetting their names. I have no idea what the romantic interest. I forgot what their name is. I don't know what they look like at all. But like it was a fun time while we were there. Let's go back. Let's rewind. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's actually talk about what this book is. So we have our main character, Winnie. She's a wheelchair user in a hero-centered, this is like a fantasy style book. She's a wheelchair user in a hero-centric town. And that means she ends up getting kind of pushed around, shoved around, and like her body controlled and like moved in under the guise of saving her. And that essentially means that while she is in like the high peak center of town, the market, trying to sell fruit because she wants to try and gain money so she can move out on her own, something happens and they have to save her and they have to bother her, and it ends up her stand ends up getting destroyed. But at least on those days, the heroes typically do destroy like her stand, all her fruit. They send Quincy to pay her off for all of the damages. Quincy is the town's hero's sidekick. And the thing is, we know this is basically a corrupt and vanity-driven system throughout the entire book. Like, she's well aware of the fact that this hero is almost certainly just leading monsters to the town for the sake of being able to... This isn't page 2. For the sake of being able to say, like, oh, I stopped the monster. You guys need me. I stopped this monster that came to, like, destroy the town. What? And stuff like that. So, like, this man is looking for ego boosts. He's trying to get people to love him, all the kind. But, you know, and then and because he wants to be the one that saved the disabled girl, she's constantly a victim of it. And she's constantly getting, like, pushed around, harassed by this guy who's causing the problems. A tournament comes up because so many damn monsters are coming to town. No idea why. But maybe we need a second hero. We need a second official hero. And Quincy needs Winnie's help to try and win all the contests to become the second hero. But they fall in love. And I had fun with this book. I think their chemistry is really cute. I love a jackass, and Winnie, fantastic jackass. I adore it. And that was mixed with like this like autistic coded character who like had like we slowly watched them learn her bullshittery and her like and her jokes and her picking on them, and it's super cute as they start to like banter. Then they like as they learn, the two of them start to banter, and it's super cute. Let me see if I can find some good examples of my thing's freaking out. Let me see if I can find some good examples of the writing of their banter, all the kind. I will also show some good quotes of like the disability commentary and stuff like that from the book. Let me see, what have I saved? Oh, also, Winnie has a friend. Winnie has a best friend, and he's not necessarily egotistical, but he loves attention. And he loves attention. He's also a jackass. We love Torin. We love Torin. He's pretty goofy. He's pretty funny. He's kind of a jackass. There's a line at the beginning that I love where it's like Torin nodded his head to the side. He lived for stealing attention, but never if it should have been Winnie's. It's her booth. I'm just here to provide entertainment. Like, that's cute. We love that. We love friends that like are actually there for their friends. # I'm not traumatized. Let me see if I can find. Let me put this, like, there's some, like, as I reread and let me turn this down. I don't want to murder anyone's ear. As I reread and re-look at the notes of this book, like, there's some really good, like, swoon-worthy fucking lines in this book right here. Right here. Winnie rolled her eyes. You barely know anything about me, and everything you do know definitely points to me being a massive bitch. I know you're helping me for a ridiculously big price. I know you made me soup. Reheated it over the fireplace for a few minutes. That barely counts. Yeah, but you didn't charge me for it. She snorted. You're ridiculously easy to impress. Guess you'll have to keep being slightly nice to me then, Quincy said. See what happens. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not supposed to squeal? I'm not supposed to scream? I'm not supposed to do a little happy dance at that kind of fucking line? Player, what? Like, there were some genuinely, like, kinds of lines throughout this book. I just adore it. Ooh, here is a good disability line. Oh no, this is a different part of the story. We'll save that for if you guys read the notes and you want to have a little book club moment. That's not one of the disability moments. Here's a good disability long comment. So they're trying to get into the town's, like, building for, like, that's, like, where the heroes all stay kind of thing. Heroes, sidekicks, and, like, other super-powered people. Can't, she shrugged, tapping at her chair. They only have stairs, despite being a building that's supposed to be open to the public, by the way. They probably just figured most prospective heroes wouldn't. They caught themselves before Winnie was forced to resort to violence. Like, no shit, they didn't think about disability, but also that doesn't make it fucking, that's still, that, you know, like, of course they didn't think of fucking disability. That doesn't mean that is the correct action to do. That doesn't mean that is the efficient action to do. Like, an example that reminds me of is I read what was it? Against Techno-Ableism is the book. I read Against Techno-Ableism, and it was in the book you're reading and you're seeing all of these different explanations of how there's so many disabilities that would actually provide an advantage to being an astronaut, but because of ableism, you would never consider putting people into space. For, I believe, one of them was, hi, Chip. We might have a visitor. Do you want to come up here? Let's come up here. Someone chronically depressed because, like, a major issue they have is with the mental health of astronauts, and so potentially having someone who's far more familiar with these episodes can lead to better outcomes when dealing with the long expanse of space that hates space, that just wants to break you, because space doesn't like humans. So Chip, come here. He wants to say hi. Hi. Okay, now you gonna say hi. This is your tax. This is my baby Bigums. Oh God. He's saying hi. He's waiting for me to get comfortable so he can get comfortable. Okay. Next is, this is a long one, but it is, like, I adored this, this phrase here. It's like, it's a decently long quote. So we're actually going to hide this, not this one, this one. And it's going to be this one on the right here. She'd let go of her needle to listen to them, but her thumb still hadn't uncurled. She stared, tried in vain to make it right itself. Then, before they could get back, she grabbed it and pulled. There was a brief pop of elevated pain, but then it was fine, except it wasn't, and everything was normal except she was destroyed. She'd always known that her hands would stop working properly eventually. None of her muscles and joints were made for land, so even though they were some of the ones that hurt the least, because she didn't tend to put too much pressure on them, she knew that they'd have to start acting up eventually. It was why her parents were constantly worried about the sewing, because to them the best way to avoid damage was to do nothing. And it was technically, but she hadn't wanted a lifetime of nothing. She was supposed to sew until her hands stopped working and then figure out the rest from there. The rest just wasn't supposed to come this soon. Fuck, she whispered. And I was destroyed by this line, or by this passage, because I also have very bad, like, hand nerve issues. I mean, if you've watched my vlogs, you may have seen it in some of my vlogs. I actually almost exclusively write on any surface with, like, a tablet glove or compression gloves, because it, like, causes a physical, like, almost a cold burning sensation when this part of my hand is, like, running against something. It causes, like, it feels like it's burning, and so I physically can't do that. So even when I'm at my job, I wear gloves all the time because it just hurts. Sometimes I'll wear these, sometimes I'll wear compression gloves, sometimes I'll wear, like, thick work gloves. And then I also have this thing that I put, that I put on my pens, my writing utensils, because it hurts a lot of the time. It hurts to hold a pen. And if you don't know, my fucking well thought out plan was to start enjoying drawing in life, because that wasn't going to be a problem ever. That's gonna make things worse, and that's not going to be something that I'll lose as these get worse. But we're just that's future Brianna's problem. That's hopefully distant future Brianna's problem. So that line destroyed me as a human being. Let me show you one more line that I liked from this book. Maybe two more lines. Okay, I will show you one more line that is like a disability there's like a disability commentary type of line, and I will show you like this last line that makes me squeal like a small child because it's so cute. I love this fucking line right here. It is Quincy tells her accepting help doesn't make you weak, Erwinna, which is her full name. And she responds, I know that, but other people constantly thinking that they know what's good for me better than I do means I have to keep being pretty fucking strong about saying no. I could flip a table with the amount of like trauma-induced fury that like knowing and understanding that and having been through this constantly brings out in me. Oh my fucking god. Great line. 10 out of 10. Oh my. And then we're gonna go to the end to see this like another like swoon worthy fucking quote. It's like literally the very end, and once he's very end, and so in the end, I'll talk about it in a second a bit more, but like Winnie ends up accidentally winning the hero competition. And so she's stressed that Quincy hates her for it. And Quincy's like, here's the quote. Quincy tilted their head. Why would I stole your thing. It was like the one thing you wanted and I went and stole it. Oh, their cheeks colored. Yeah, it turns out that definitely wasn't the one thing I wanted after all. They took a shuddering breath staring at the sky. Goddess, this was so much easier in my head. Like, how am I not? Because obviously she's the one thing that they want, and I just like, what do I do? I'm not okay anymore. This is so cute. This is too cute now, and I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Like, that's so cute. Okay. Now, let's talk about, but yeah, for the most part, I thought the book was a lot of fun. The quotes, like, are just, like, so much fun, so much cute, so much great is happening in the book. I don't know why it doesn't really stick with me. It doesn't really connect with me, but it just, it doesn't. Maybe it will for someone else. It is, again, a great time. It was a very fun time. But I just, yeah, it just was, I guess it just was not for me. The next, I find it funny that like, not once, she runs a fruit stand, and that's why it's called Hijinks and Honeydews. Not once were honeydews even mentioned. Not even like, here's a list of just like a basket of fruit, like a basket. She sells oranges and apples and honeydews and bananas. Like, not even, why? Let's talk about the fundamental issue that I had with this book. So what's going on when they're trying to find this like other hero, right? They're trying to find another hero for the town. How they go about doing that is a contest, and you have 3 trials to see who is going to be the one to win it. And as we go through these trials, and as we have our characters trying to discover, trying to like cheat their way basically into winning, we find out that the town's revered hero is self-centered. He is abusive. He like terrible guy. He's very mad that his sidekick is starting to like do well in the competition and looks like they might win. And they also decide to like kind of mess with him, pull some pranks, some stuff. And so there's a point where the hero, the like town's hero, I think his name is Max. He turns into like, he goes way off the deep end and is like, I'm going to bring this massive ogre into the middle of town and make all these people trying to be hero fight it, and whoever, if anyone's able to beat it, then we will call them the hero. If not, then I, Max, will be able to save the day yet again. And immediately gets flicked in the head and knocked out. Which leaves all of these, like, not super trained people to try and save the day when this monster is, like, in the middle of town. My problem is we, as the audience, know that this man has been manipulating the townspeople essentially by bringing in these monsters and by baiting these monsters into the town to cause a scene, to make people love him and whatnot. We know that. We know that he has been abusing the Quincy. We know that. We know that he we know that he, like, his ego isn't surviving the idea of having a second hero. Like, we know all of these terrible character, like, personality issues. Like, this man, we know this man is a terrible human. We as the audience know these things, and our main characters know these things. We get to the conclusion of the story. Winnie kind of goes off to save with the ogre, she's a mermaid and she sings the monster away. There's obviously we had the spoilers for the whole video. She sings the monster away. When she gets back, the town has addressed Max, and I would have believed it if these townspeople had been like, hey, how dare you, like, you can't be this emotional, you can't be this aggravated or whatever, because you're putting people in danger, stuff like that. I would have believed that the townspeople would have, like, scorned him, would have scolded him, because yes, he did something wrong. I would have believed the townspeople would have felt the need to address that he did something wrong. But they hog-tie him and throw him in a corner, and we don't really address it. Like, that's the last we ever address his existence, is like, oh, she looks over and he's hog-tied and thrown over there, and now everyone's drinking and partying. And that just doesn't make sense. Like, because these people don't know all of that he's been manipulating and tricking them. These people don't know that he's an abusive man, so it doesn't make sense for them to have done that, because they should still be under the impression that these monsters are coming for them and they need a hero. They should still believe that. But that was just, but it seems like the story rushed at giving a conclusion that would be satisfying to the audience without it necessarily making sense in the story. And it felt less like that was like the route the story was trying to take, and more like it was trying to rush through these more plot aspects of the book to get back to the romance, where the romance is supposed to be primary, like the A plot, and then the actual trials and whatnot is the B plot. And I don't, like, it's one thing for that to be the situation where you're more focused on the romance than the plot, but, like, if the plot is the vehicle that guides us through the ups and downs, the process of them finding their relationship, it felt like we kind of just left the car on the side of the road to finish the story. Like, we didn't follow through on the plot that we had been invested in this entire time. We were just kind of like, okay, now it's all gone. Now it's all done. Bye. And what the book this reminds me of was, what was the fucking romance by Roshani Chomsky? It was like Once Upon a Love Story or something. What was it called? No, I hit videos. I did not hit shorts. Once More Upon a Time. It reminded me of that, and if you haven't seen that stream, it wouldn't be under the lives of this channel, because that whole identity crisis thing, it was a whole thing. It's going to be under the videos under this channel, Once More Upon a Time. But in that book, you literally had the princess gets kidnapped, and we're sitting with the prince who's pining and trying to figure out how he's going to save her, and she's like, I'm good now, let's go, and they move on. It's like, okay, but it would be one thing if that just wasn't the priority of the story you're trying to tell us, but you're literally not finishing the story you started at this point. And so I felt like I was lacking something in that regard. And the thing I'm hoping it's not is that this isn't people's interpretation of cozy storytelling. I'm fairly certain it is, because this book I had actually gotten was a arc, and in the like notes and stuff that they had asked for, the author was like, is there too much of the plot? Do I need to make less of the final battle in order to make it cozier? And granted, I am not like well versed in the cozy mystery genre per se. I've only read the Diana Flower series. I've read one other cozy mystery book from a different series, but like if you're thinking of shows like Scooby-Doo as a cozy mystery type of thing, where it's like the idea is that it is still a mystery, but it's not supposed to haunt and traumatize you, kind of thing. Like, you still get the mystery. Like, you still get the mystery. You still finish the story you're providing. Like you still follow through whatever you have offered up to the audience. You still follow through on. You just choose how in depth you go with it. But here it felt like we essentially, like, it felt like we did not follow through on what would have happened given the story that we had been given. It felt like we skipped a bunch of story for the sake of not actually having to participate in that aspect of the story, and that did leave much to be desired. Like I said, I liked this book, I really did, but I am honestly a little hesitant about potentially reading more cozy stories, cozy fantasy, stuff like that from this author, because I feel like there's going to be a point where I am just not satisfied by the stories, because it feels like we are kind of half-assing the ending, or half-assing the parts that the author doesn't really want to get into, or doesn't feel like should be gotten into in the book, but those parts were still brought into the story as opposed to have just been written out or something like that. Like, they weren't written to, like, how, like, have I explained this well enough yet? It's like the author didn't write around the issue. The author just slapped a the end sticker and is expecting us to just kind of be okay with it. And I feel like if I were to keep reading stuff like this, I would just eventually find these works not to be worthwhile. I would just genuinely seek out different books, something that would be a satisfying story being told. But again, I did like the book that I read. I did have fun with the book that I read. But yeah, I just wish we had really followed through more on the plot that had been offered and that we had been getting invested in for the entire story. But yeah, that is basically all that I have to say about this. Again, if you want to check out and see all of the notes, all of my favorite lines in the book, things I thought were funny, like quotes that I want on a t-shirt and stuff like that, it's all going to be on, these are on my Patreon. And then next, this is, I believe, the last stream that I need to do of my 2023 books. Next up is going to be my quarter 4, looking back at all of the quarter 4 books. And I still also have going through, I'm not going to do a top 10. I actually want to try and do like a tier list of all of my books, because I saw Pinecone K do it, and I was like, that looks fun. So I want to try and do that. And then we also have to go back through my 5-star book draft from last year and look at what my 5-star book draft for this coming year is going to be. And finally, I may or may not do a stream on it, or I might do it as a just voiceover for on my vlog channel. But I want to like talk about how I felt about my reading year last year. And that would be all of my 2023 reading stuff wrapped up. But we also soon need to get into, I guess it would be a readathon, but it's going to be just a readathon for me, basically. But I have a readathon for Black History Month that I'm very excited for. I have prompts, and I have books selected for each prompt, and I'm very excited to start start that month. But that, as in terms of this, that is all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Addictions friends.